Yep, totally blown away, Marisol. See, it all started to come together. Then I start to look at, for example, like I shared before, is why it was that when we first moved to Tulsa, and your parents had initially welcomed us with foreign arms, but then it was your father, after we were there like for 3.5 weeks, he kicked us out of the house. We had to find another place to live, but we didn't do anything wrong. And you know it and I know it. Why? We could never figure it out. I never could figure it out why we had to move. Well, pieces all came together. Your lover couldn't handle us being in his house and the room next to him sleeping together as husband and wife. Because he doesn't see that as husband and wife. He sees that as a man with the woman that he's in love with. Yeah, that's the way I see it. I don't say that with trying to hurt anybody. I don't try to say that with anybody, and Yeshua knows that. But I see that as the answer. Now everything in the marriage, now everything comes together like a puzzle. It's like a puzzle. It all comes together. But it doesn't stop there. I had a hard time believing that. And at the same time, though, that psychiatrist, a man psychiatrist, he didn't know about dreams. I still wanted someone to give me an answer to the dream that Katya had. So I went to another, by phone, psychiatrist, except this time it was a woman, and went through the whole thing. And you know what was interesting? The woman went through the whole thing. She spent an hour plus with me on the phone. Doesn't know me from Adam. She's a psychiatrist right out of the phone book. Christian psychologist. You know, they got the little Christian symbol and all that. Describe everything just like I did to the gentleman psychiatrist. And at the end, the woman said the same thing. It blew me away. She said, James, that man who kicked you out was not her father. And she said, do you know what I'm talking about? And I said, yes. I understand what you're saying. And then I explained to her that the other gentleman, see, when I talked to this woman, the second psychiatrist, understand this, I did not mention that I had already talked to another psychiatrist. Didn't mention a word. And trying to find someone who can interpret the dream. And so she said the same thing. That man who kicked you out was the lover. Wow. Unbelievable. It totally floored me again. In the mouth of two or more witnesses, let every word be established. Wow. Matthew 18:16 and many other scriptures to that effect. Anyway, so this psychiatrist, she didn't know either about the dream. So I went to one more psychiatrist by phone, who she recommended, that did interpret dreams. Called her, went through the whole story again, over an hour with her. And she said the same thing. But then we got to talking about the dream. And this is the part where, Katya, I was ready to go to the electric chair for you. To protect you. Because the two previous psychiatrists also said the same thing. And that was that it pointed to your grandfather as he being the one that had done a horrible thing to your mother as a child or as a preteen. Unbelievable. But there's nothing I can do in that arena other than this. Marisol, it wasn't me that did it, and it wasn't Michael that did it. Someone else hurt you. And your anger was taken out definitely on me. Just like it was shown to me that night that I had the dream when I received the divorce papers. All that anger, everything that's in you towards men came out on me. And it also came out on Michael psychological, but I don't know to what degree. But I know I definitely got it. Okay. But anyway, so went to the third psychiatrist who was recommended that she did do dreams. Went through the whole thing. She said the same thing. She said the same thing. That it was the lover that kicked me out of the house. But then we talked about the dream. And she told me something. Katya, listen to me. Then Isaac and Christian, listen to me. That psychiatrist told me, just like they all had, number one, a father would never do that. A true father that loved her daughter would never, ever have caused that split. Never have done that. Instead would have done everything to help. But like I said before, never was accepted into the Busquets family by any of the Busquets. Period. End of story. With the exception of the possibility of maybe Eileen, but at the same time, I don't think so. That's my personal opinion. But definitely in relation to Marisol, your father and mother, never accepted. You know it, I know it. We talked about it many times during our marriage. I was never seen as a son coming into the family, nothing. I was always seen as the guy who married the daughter. That was it. But anyway. So anyway, I talked to this other psychiatrist in relation to the dream. And she wouldn't answer me in relation to what it meant. I asked her, does it mean, how does a little girl, I think about 12 years old, have a dream that's so horrific as her father raping her? And the psychiatrist said to me, James, I can't interpret the dream for you because she said, I don't deal with children. All my clients, all my patients are adult women. And yes, that have been sexually molested by their fathers as a little girl or a young girl or whatever. And so I asked her this question. I said, okay, then let me ask, then if a adult, so I asked her, if a adult woman came in to talk to you and you were to, she was to tell you that she was having dreams of her father raping her, what would you tell that adult woman, or what would it mean? And she said to me, James, I would have to have a lot of counseling more with her, but it would tend to signify to me initially that something had happened to her sexually as a child somewhere for her to have such a horrific, horrible dream. Katya, I have cried so many tears for you. You can't imagine. But then thinking that my wife, the wife, your mother, wouldn't stop to listen for you, for your protection, but instead would just accuse me that I'm doing all this about her father and this, that, just out of revenge. No, never happened out of revenge. No. No. Never did, never would. It's not happening this moment. Out of revenge or not, it's happening because it's the truth. And she also said the same thing. Everything points, Marisol, to your father. And then the psychiatrist said, and like Katya at that time was saying, she hated me. She hated me. And then this last psychiatrist lady, she says to me, the possibility of why your daughter hates, because I had told her we had homeschooled the children, I was always home and this, that. And this lady says, the hatred that comes from your daughter could be because of what had happened. You were no longer at home. And if she had been touched, she has an anger towards you because of the actions that had occurred whereby you were no longer there to protect her like you had always been up to that time since you worked from home. Wow. Wow. Unbelievable. And Marisol, I hold you 100% responsible if anything happened to our daughter. 100% responsible.